we kind of talked about it a minute ago, but first thing I want to do is put out a huge thank you to Bo and his team out there at the airport. These vaccination clinics, having gone out there myself and personally been through them, have been outstanding. And Bo and his team, their coordination effort with the health department, the sheriff's department, EMS, EMTs, the volunteers and all that have really been spectacular. And I think it's done a great job showcasing our airport, the great teamwork among our county folks, and getting a lot of folks vaccinated in a very orderly manner. So Bo, thank you to you and your team for making that happen. Thanks. I think I do speak for everyone on the board about that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair Ellis. I appreciate it.
You bet. Anybody else second that?
I do.
Yeah, it's been spectacular out there. You folks have done a great job. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I do as well. A great coordinated effort by lots of county departments to make some good things happen.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
I think we're kind of the model for a lot of other counties and how they've set theirs up, because you look on TV and you look at some of these others and they're doing it just like we are. And I think they copied us, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Actually, state representatives from DHHS did visit Franklin County early on to take note of the way the process was working.
Yeah. So great job by all. So again, thank you. Let's see. First item on the agenda is review and approval of minutes. Those have been out. You've had your draft copies. What's the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. Those in favor of approval signify with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. That carries. They're approved.
Mr. Chair, hold up for just a minute. Do we need to do a roll call vote on that, Lori or Mr. Boyd?
I mean, I think we're okay.
Okay, just wanted to verify. Thank you.
We haven't been doing the roll call on that vote in the last meeting.
Or if it was going to be a close vote, we'd need to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. But since it's unanimous, we're okay with that, sir?
Yeah, I mean, if it was something real important, we'd probably.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. You had mentioned earlier, Lori, that no one signed up for public comments. Has there been anybody since?
No, sir, there has not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Bo, you have the floor.
All right. Well, thank you again, Mr. Ellers, for John. I'm sorry. He's told me I have to call him John from now on, but I'll stick to protocol. Mr. Chair, thank you for those kind words. It has been a huge team effort, not only at the airport, but all that has been involved with the COVID vaccination clinic. So we continue to adhere to the guidelines that the state and the county have put forth. Currently observing the existing executive order set by our governor. And just so you know, Franklin County is currently in group 3 in regards to their vaccination in terms of the group. So it's 65 years and older, plus those that fit in the certain category of group 3, which includes first responders, teachers, healthcare professionals, and then a new category called essential workers. So that has anybody dealing with the ag and food programs, anybody dealing with the manufacturing and distribution of medical devices or PPEs, anybody that deals with transportation, whether it's aviation or highway, obviously elected officials, clergy, etc. So there is an extensive list that people fall within, and obviously we at Franklin County are vaccinating as many people as we possibly can that fits those categories. I will say that the team weekly, we do 2 vaccination events. As you may be aware, on Tuesday and Thursday, those are the only events right now that Franklin County is doing. That it takes place in our parking lot at the terminal. We've got a very, very smooth transition that you go through the lines and get your vaccine. And I know County Manager Kim went through the line, I think last week, so it was good to see her. So hopefully everybody, we've definitely made a lot of tweaks to make the process a lot more efficient and quick. So today alone, we had a vaccination event. We had over close to 1,000 people vaccinated today alone. We're looking at about 1,400 on Thursday. And then come next week, we've got one that should top out at about 1,600 on one day. So those are a lot of the people for coming back for second dose vaccines next week. Again, as Chair Allers mentioned, huge involvement with all the county departments. You mentioned some of those, sir, in terms of the sheriff's office, EMS, economic development, obviously have been there, Parks and Rec, social services, public health, maintenance, the tax office. It goes on and on and on in terms of the level of people who volunteer staff to come out for these events. It takes a village really to get that done right. Currently to date, I was able to ask our health director, Scott Levine. We have currently vaccinated 16,000 people in Franklin County. That does not count today's number, but if you added close to another 1,000, you're looking at 17,000 people. So that's really, really a great sign for not only the county, but the state as we can move forward, hopefully, and get this thing behind us. So I'll transition now, so to say, into operations. Does anybody have any questions about the code event? Does anybody have any concerns? Have you heard any concerns? Anything we can make tweaks to from your constituents?
And don't forget our Civil Air Patrol unit. They've done some outstanding work there too.
Yes, sir. I have it written down. I'm sorry, I glazed over it, but yes, Civil Air Patrol has been very instrumental. They helped me tremendously in the marshaling of vehicles. Also, they help with the marshaling of the lines. So yes, absolutely, Chair. They are a great asset for us to have at the airport. So switching to operations real quick. As of the last meeting, I had mentioned that I was starting to do the inventory per my criteria through the tax department, where I inventory the aircraft and property on the airfield. Just so you know, based on that inventory as of January 1, 2021, we had 2 gliders based, we had 6 rotors, and we had 103 aircraft for a total of 111. I will say that since January 1, we have added more aircraft to the field. So, that number actually is a little bit higher. Again, that document is more of a documentation for the tax office to verify and counter check those on the airfield to make sure people are reporting what they have on the airfield. Also, we've been addressing some maintenance items in regards to our corporate hangars. So for corporate hangar A through D, which is 4 businesses, we have installed newer security latches for the large corporate hangar doors, which they are able to now pull those doors in tighter, and that will help with wind events. And obviously with the cold air, it kind of keeps some of that out. So that's been very appreciated by the tenants. We've also repaired our access gate. We had a couple of issues. A sensor went bad. So both of our gates are now currently working and greased up and all that. So we shouldn't have any issues with them. And then we obviously throughout the year continue to replace light bulbs as we need to in our hangars and our T hangars. Switching to fuel, as you may know, you probably see it at the pump. It has jumped up at about 30 cents since the last time we received a load of avgas. Jet fuel has gone up probably about 15 cents. And so our fuel prices have changed for the first time since September. I tried to keep them as low as long as I possibly could. But right now we are sitting at $3.79 a gallon for Jet A and $4.69 a gallon for avgas. And obviously I got the price again today, and it's gone up another 5 cents since we received it last. So I'll continue to look at that and see how I can adjust it going forward and try not to hurt too many people at the pump, so to say. Also, I did want to mention as we're talking about fueling, I know that Vice Chair Bunn had mentioned in the past starting to look at, and I say Vice Chair of the County Commissioners, I apologize, Councilmember Bunn, wanted us to start looking at how we can get back into selling portable avgas slash jet fuel on the airfield to aviation related businesses and pilots. I've talked to our county manager, Ms. Denton, about this. We are looking at that process now. I have confirmed the type of can that we need to make sure that people have when they come to the airfield. It has to be a type 1 or a type 2 red galvanized steel can for avgas and jet fuel. We'll also look at having some at the terminal for purchase if individuals do not have that and they still want to buy gas. And then obviously we will need to tweak our rules and regulations to mention some of this language, as well as lastly to waive any liability issues that may come across if there are any in regards to purchasing the fuel and taking it away from the airfield. So anyway, more to come on this, and I just wanted to let you know, Vice Chair Bunn, that we are looking into it, me and the county manager, and we'll be back to this council to give y'all a synopsis of the language so that we can approve it going forward in the next rules and regulations. Does anybody have any questions on the operation stuff I just mentioned? All right. Looking at real estate real quick, regarding the tie down locations on the airfield, we are very, very close to capacity. We currently have one spot that is currently empty. We like to kind of keep that spot for transient overnight, just because it's always good to be able to tie somebody down when they're there for overnight. We did have one tenant to leave the airfield since January. That was the Raleigh Flying Club with their experimental aircraft. They just were not getting the amount of interest in people to fly that particular airplane at our airfield. And so they moved it back to RDU, and they thought that they could probably capture more of the type people there than at our airport. We do have 3 new additions that are coming to the airfield on tie downs. They are not here yet, but one is Mr. Ryan Smith out of Cary. And then we have a gentleman from California that is moving to the area, and he will be bringing 2 of his aircrafts, one in April and one in May, that we're going to base here at the airport. In regards to the T-hanger storage areas, as you know, we're completely full with those. And as I keep saying, the list keeps going up and up and up, but we have 86 people on the waiting list now for T-hangers. I do have a bit of good news. So back on February 15th, I presented an opportunity for the airport to the Board of County Commissioners for a private company, which is S3 Aviation LLC, to construct a 66-foot by 60-foot private hangar that will be positioned beside Dr. Stover's hangar, or Skyhawk Enterprises LLC. They currently in January brought a new 2020 Cirrus to the airfield. That plane is retailed for them right around $1 million. So that was a great win, not only for the tax base for the county, but obviously for fuel for us, because they tend to be an active pilot or aircraft right now, which is a win-win. So we'll continue to work with their team as they go down the line. And hopefully in the near future, we can see some construction going on the airfield in that south hangar area. And then also, just as a heads up, but kudos to the Economic Development Office. It looks like we have a new tenant that will be coming to the industrial park. So once more information comes available on that, I'll be glad to share it with an update. But I'm really excited about that. There has been a company that has bought some land that is kind of near the warehouse facility. And they'll be looking at constructing a building on that land. So we're going to have hopefully another business out there that will obviously add to the employment base for the airport and for the business park in general. Switching a little to marketing, So just so you know, Civil Air Patrol has granted permission to come back to in-person meetings on Monday night at the airport. So we're happy to receive them back and help to support them and their duty and their call of mission of what they do. Very excited about having just some more activity at the airport since COVID. They're going to do things. The state is a lot more stringent with CAP as what, say, the governor is. So there's some challenges there, but I know Dr. Stover and his team at CAP has got that under control and make sure that they will adhere to all the protocols that the NC wing sets forth to Lieutenant Colonel Bailey, our commander, for CAP to operate there on Monday night. So I'm happy to see that activity start again. Also, I've talked to Triangle Skydiving Center. They're doing pretty well in COVID, all things considered. They continue to be an active member, and they currently have 3 or 4 decent size events that are planned in 2021 in a safe manner. And then hopefully, if everything goes right in fall of 2021, I've been talking to them, but they have a team. If things work well with COVID and getting people here internationally, they've got a team set forth to come and attempt the North Carolina record for a parachute tandem. Right now, the record, I think, is 29, I guess it's called parachutist. I don't know the appropriate name, but skydivers, let's just say that, to do formations. And this new one that they want to attempt is 60. So they're going to really try and blow the record out of the water, so to say, at our airfield. They've done a test jump. They really liked our area. They liked the airport, the amenities, and that was done back in 2020. And they did about 24 at one time. They had 2 planes going. And so with this new one, they'll have 3 or 4 planes going to accomplish the 60-person display, so to say. So we're excited about that, and hopefully we can create some type of an event out of that for the public as well. And then also to kind of finish up the marketing, so the airport, in conjunction with the county, as well as the Carter Regional Economic Development Commission, has approved a vendor for the design and construction of a new sign to be visible and attractive out at the intersection of US 401 and Airport Road. It will hopefully have lights as well. And if you bear with me just a minute, and I hope there's not too much on my screen, but I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully, Corey, do you mind giving me the ability to share? I wanted to give you just a quick preview of what the sign will look like, if I can find it. Too much stuff. All right, bear with me. I'm gonna close some things down. Give me just a second here. I think it looks pretty cool, so I definitely want y'all to see it. I'm sorry, I should have had this keyed up.
Got it in my email though. Yeah, send it to you.
Let's see here. Let's try it one more time. See if I can. All right, hold up again. Sorry. Why is it not showing? There it is. All right, bear with me. Hopefully it's coming through.
It is.
This to just give you an idea. This is the collaboration between the 2 entities of the business park as well as the airport, and so it'll be nice vertical sign with a turn here. It's going to hopefully have you see where it's positioned here on the corner, right at 401 and Airport Road, and then I will shift one more time. That gives you another look of what it would look during the day. And then obviously at nighttime, it will be lit up from both sides through a solar mechanism that we're looking into. So we really think that's going to bring some enhancement to the airport as well as the business park. And we really appreciate Cartar as well as the county helping us with this sign in terms of the funding. So I'm really excited about that. And hopefully in the next, I would say month or two, maybe we can, maybe we'll see something out there at the road.
Great.
So lastly, I want to turn it over to Greg Vandermolen. He's with Michael Baker Engineering. I asked Greg just to give us some quick synopsis of the grants that we have going on and implementing currently on the airfield, and for him to provide any feedback, timing, progress, and those types of things. So Greg, if you don't mind joining us, I appreciate it. Greg, are you there? Oh, here he comes.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, got you, Greg.
Okay, all right. So we'll start with the lighting project. We got about 2 to 3 weeks of construction left on that. Right now they're working on the segmented circle over at the wing cone. So we'll be scheduling a final walkthrough coming up here pretty soon to generate a punch list and clean things up there. On the master plan, we are waiting on Bo to finish his review so we can submit the draft to DOA and start that review process. And then the pavement rehab project, we are targeting an early April submission for the 90% documents on that project. The DOA requested that we change our priority that we gave the different sets of pavement. In our 60% submission, we had gave the apron and the taxi lanes the highest priority as they were the pavements in the worst shape out of everything within the project. But I believe the FAA is driving this request, and they would like to see the runway as the highest priority and then work our way out from there. And I believe that is just based on how how projects are scored in the federal system. So runway scores higher than taxiway scores higher than apron. They also requested that we separate the taxi lanes from the apron portion of the project, and that'll just create another bid alternate in the event that we have enough money to maybe do the apron but not the taxi lanes. So just working in a little more versatility there into the project. I don't think any of that will be an issue for us. So we're pressing on.
And Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, though. We are going to, hopefully everything goes well in the design bid, hopefully we'll be moving toward construction. And that will be a scenario where I would need to go in front of the Board of Commissioners to present that opportunity, which obviously will be the construction of the things that y'all designed out for this new runway pavement rehab.
Yes, that's right. We have heard through the grapevine that the FAA is interested in supporting this project, but they may not have funding to pick up the entire project, which I think is why they're asking to separate the taxi lanes. But in the end, it all depends on what bids come in at, and hopefully with having, a large project, we see some good prices.
Does anybody have any questions about the grants?
On the lighting project, are we pretty much past or done with closing runway closures and taxiway closures?
Yeah, we may have some, nighttime closures to do some cleanup work.
Yeah.
But the bulk of the closures are done, yes.
Okay, great.
I will say, just to comment on the lights, I did receive a call from Gene Braswell. I'm not sure who knows him on the airfield. He was coming back last week in the storms, and he was flying in to the airport, and obviously he has his minimums that he has to adhere to for the FAA, but he has his own personal minimums. And I think he was around 300 feet, he said, and he said he was ready to pull up and go around and go to RDU. But he said he came out of the clouds and it was just like Christmas with those lights. And it really, really meant a lot to him because it made him feel rest assured in landing at his base airfield. So anyway, that's a great testimony for him, and he was very appreciative.
Great.
So that's all I have in regards to the report. I'm happy to answer any questions about any of those or any other questions that you may have.
Hey, Bo, I have a couple of questions. Frank Donahue.
Yes, sir.
So let me just say, those lights are really bright, which is wonderful because that airport really is a black hole in the middle of the night. It's surrounded by darkness. So that's great to have the higher intensity lighting. We've got a 4-light PAPI going out there now in the grass, right?
Yes, sir.
Is it in the plan to add some cones out there to denote the ends of the runway? Because we've got people who have historically come in and used that area where we had a 2-light before that you could easily get past, and now you cannot. So can we get some of the DOT style cones to denote a threshold? And it would be nice actually if we had them on the other end where the concrete is as well. And I realize the grass is probably not official, but regardless, that would still be beneficial for safety and to prevent an incident.
Right. I'll look into that. You're correct. People will have to go over the PAPI 4s to land in the grass. I was lucky enough, and kudos to Jerry Ice with Michael Baker. The plans called for the cinder, whatever you call them, the caps, to go right straight down that grass runway, which would have been 2 or 3 inches above grass level. And Jerry pulled me aside and said, let's look at other alternatives. And we were able to get them to move those canisters closer to the fence. That will obviously, for safety reasons, allow us to still use the grass for those with tail draggers and appropriate aircraft. To answer your question, Frank, I'll definitely talk to my counterparts at the Division of Aviation. I'm sure Michael Baker has some connections as well. We'll see what we can do in regards to those cones you mentioned.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey,
Anything
Bo.
else?
Yes.
Bo. Steve Trabilla here.
Yes, sir.
Hey, a couple of months ago, we had a tenant kind of took issue that he was not being responded to about expansion, talking about the expansion of his business and his concerns. He
Yes,
kind
sir.
of was he was appointed about it, and I agreed with what he had to say under the premise that nobody was responding to him. Well, I did a little checking into that, and I guess there's a history there that I didn't know about. Did that gentleman ever submit his business plan?
No, sir. I have not heard. I mean, I saw him today, but to be honest with you, but no, I have not heard another word from him since our meeting when he presented that dialogue.
Well, that's unfortunate because okay. But just pointing out that I think folks are doing something for the guy if he'll submit his paperwork. So I'm kind of off the net until he does that.
Yes, sir. That's our message back to him is come to us. Let's talk about it. Submit your plans, your finances, your business plan. We need to talk to your investors. If it's investors, we just have to have a little bit more concrete information to be able to move forward.
Roger that. I was just following up.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Any other business anyone like to bring up tonight, this afternoon? Well, great. Okay. Believe our next, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, John, I guess I have a question about why we're requesting a business plan from an existing tenant. If somebody wants to build a hangar, I'm not really sure, and I don't want to speak for Brett, but I don't understand why we're requiring him, we're putting something back on him. That I'm not really sure I understand this process. If somebody wants to build a hangar to retain a business at the airport, I'm just not sure I understand how this process is supposed to go.
Right. Well, I'm just based on the activity that we've had, Frank, at the airfield with our other tenants. Basically, you know, they request to sit down with the appropriate officials. We talk about their plan, talk about what they want to do, talk about, you know, see some of the drawings and et cetera before we actually go forward with a land lease, so to say, and as well as financials, because, you know, we have to do our due diligence in regards to the county and our land to make sure it's you know, an appropriate fit for both parties. And so, I mean, at this point, we have not heard back from Mr. James in regards to any of that, or even attempting to set a meeting at this current date.
And also,
So-
all the other businesses out there have had to do that. When the skydivers came out, they presented a business plan. All of them, Total Flight Solutions, everyone out there has presented a business plan before they've started operations or expanded. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure that's what's happened.
If I can add to that, it seems that we have a plan moving forward of how things are configured. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. James is interested in something that's already being looked at. And I think that was part of the reason for the plan, because it would require some adjusting to some future development. Am I right on that, Bo?
Right. Yes, sir. Our current two spots are, we are in negotiations or in talking with two potential tenants for those spaces. What I did relay on to Mr. James at that time is that, and I did talk to him prior to our January meeting. I have been in discussions with him about his desire. But just so you know, I told him that we would be glad to entertain, again, this is part of that, let's come together, let's talk about what you want to do. But, you know, right now we only have two spots. And so if he does want to expand, we're not saying that he can't expand, but he would have to take on the responsibility of clearing land and doing the appropriate thing as any business that looks at a greenfield site, so to say.
Yeah, those other two tenants, how firm is that? I mean, are we still in negotiations, or does it look pretty positive?
Both of them still look very positive. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we won't want to compromise a more positive situation on a maybe. So I appreciate the reason for the plan and the meeting.
Yeah, like I said, we don't object to meeting with them. We're happy to meet with them. We would love for him to grow and to build another hangar. We just can't do it in the two spots that we currently have at this particular time.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've got another issue that came to my mind, and I'd forgotten about it. These tenants that we have, the grass cutting and the maintenance, when we contract all that, how is that figured in? Talking to another airport, somebody that I just happen to know. They're telling me that the private tenants kind of have to cut their own grass, or somehow it's built into the contract. How does that work for us?
So, well, I mean, technically I assume you're talking about the T hangars, or are you talking about the corporate hangars?
No, actually, more the corporate hangars, because with that new tenant that's coming in, you know, I'm just wondering, has the price been factored for the grass cuttings? That's a pretty big part of things, you know.
Yes, sir. So we look at it twofold. We look at it, a situation is, are they going to take care of the grass, or are we going to take care of the grass? And so we look at that with individual tenants in regards to the actual land that they lease at the airport. So it all depends upon, how much control we want them, or how much land we want them to take down, to make sure it fits within our plan. But usually those costs are within the cost that we come up with in regards to our land leases. So right now, for example, the Total Flight Solutions, the large hangar we have on the airfield, they currently, even though they don't have much grass, they do take care of their utilities. They take care of their mowing, their grass, and that type of thing. So the same would apply depending upon the tenant. Yes, sir.
Okay, so all tenants don't take care of the grass. Some tenants do, some tenants don't. And you say that's
correct. If they're a private tenant, then they typically would take care of their own. If they're the county property that people are leasing from us, we do take care of the maintenance, because that's part of their lease in terms of the grass and those types of things.
okay. So obviously rents are consumer to the amount of services they get provided.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Bo.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Okay, I'm showing our next meeting will be May the 11th. So in the meantime, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I will say, Mr. Chair, one quick thing. If I do need to reconvene us to look at rules and regulations or have special one-offs, I'll be in touch with you and the appropriate officials that done it through Mr. Surgis and whatever we can do in looking at some of those. Maybe we can do it over email and kind of provide feedback or something to that stance. So I just wanted to let you know, given it a 2-month reprieve, I would like the option to come back to y'all to get your input on some things.
Sure, no problem.
Anytime, Bo.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's time today, and thank you for all you do for the airport.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Any objection to adjournment? Okay, we'll adjourn. Thank you all very much. Have a great night, and